Hi, guys. This is Pharmacists Out of the Box. I'm Heather.
And I'm Bryn.
And today we have the most amazing guest for you. We have been waiting and waiting to get him on our schedule. And he is the awesome Al Torre. Is that how you say the
Yes,
last
Al
name?
Torre. Yeah, I say Al Torre.
Al Torre. And we go kind of way back, not that way back, but he and I are pharmacy school mates from just a few years ago.
Yeah. Couple.
And Al has really been nice to offer his time to us today to talk about his unique career path, which I think a lot of us as pharmacists will find very interesting. I know I do.
Oh, yes.
So Al, tell us a little bit, I guess, about why you went into pharmacy school, how your pharmacy career kind of started maybe.
Of course. Yeah. So again, Al Torre, I'm down in South Florida. I lived in Gainesville for 4 years. I went to pharmacy school back in 2000. And I'm going to say, Heather, 2005 is when we graduated pharmacy school.
Okay.
And I was so excited when I got accepted in pharmacy school. When I saw Dean McKenzie, give me a big warm hug because I've been looking forward a year before that. I was so excited to be there. And then, like, when I graduated, the excitement wasn't there, and I was so disappointed. So I just continued to chug along, hoping that I could find the next thing in pharmacy that I could get excited about. I did hospital pharmacy. I did all the retail pharmacies. You name them all. I worked at Target. I worked at CVS. I worked at Walgreens. I worked at all of them. So yeah, that's pretty much a story. And I couldn't find happiness. How about that?
Imagine that happens. Yeah. And so I think a lot of people might be in that kind of role. And I think a lot of students coming up too. So a lot of our audience too out can be students interested in like different parts of pharmacy or different options. So
did you practice for like a year after you graduated or less?
No, I did it for a few years. You see,
Oh, wow.
The economy, I bought my first my first real estate property. I bought an investment property, Miami Beach, in 2004.
Okay.
Actually, the year before I graduated,
Yeah.
my parents, they kind of helped me orchestrate that whole structure because they had residential background in real estate. And I bought my first deal, and it turned out to be that the economy literally went through on a tailspin right after 2006, 7, 8. And the best place for me to really, I thought at the time, was to go work as a pharmacist because I had a license as a pharmacist. I could go work as a pharmacist. So I got hired, at Walgreens as a pharmacist, and I worked in Miami at CVS for a few years. So it wasn't until 2012, 13 that I actually made the transition. I worked for a good amount of years. I had 7, 8 years, 7. Yeah.
But I think it's important to note too, Al, that when we graduated, it was kind of a different environment than I guess when you left pharmacy, even because we could get a job at all those multiple places. Everybody needed you then. Everybody wanted you then. Yeah. So it was kind of easier to bounce around.
Yeah. We would get sign-on bonuses. We get, we worked 2 years here, 2 years there. It was a different environment for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so then you mentioned go ahead.
Oh, were you doing like real estate on the side while you were also?
So I wasn't. That's such a good question because people think I was doing it on the side. I really wasn't. I was committed to pharmacy. I was not I was 100% committed to pharmacy. We were, I was working as a pharmacy manager at the time in one of the busiest stores in downtown Miami. I wasn't working in real estate at all. It wasn't until I made the decision to go to real estate school back in 2011. And it wasn't until 2 years later that I actually pursued it. It took time. It was a building block, but I was very committed to pharmacy at the time. I wasn't half and half. I was just doing pharmacy. And then I was working part-time as a pharmacist in pediatrics at a hospital down in Miami and full-time as a retail pharmacist. Like a lot of pharmacists do that. So I was very committed to doing both. And it was impossible to be playing in the real estate world and pharmacy at the time. If I had to redo it again, I would have probably done it both and then transitioned full time. But I literally burned the bridge. I just said, let me just go all in. That's all I kind of know how to do, and that's how it's been.
So what was your initial why retail? What was the initial when you did make that choice or that cut? What made you kind of pick real estate or
real estate? Right. So here's how the whole thing went. It was 7 years after pharmacy school, and I was just not finding the place. I did from floating pharmacist, a floater, right? Working different locations, to per diem pharmacist at the hospital to full-time. And I couldn't find, and then I went to a brand new market in a brand new area, and that didn't work. I worked in Fort Myers for a few months. So there was no way of finding, I think for me, for myself, pharmacy was a little too limiting for me. And then I had my first daughter in 2012, and I was so upset. I had to go to work, and you can't leave the pharmacy when you're there. She was in the NICU. I couldn't go see her. And I was like, okay, I could see the writing on the wall now. Like if I ever have an emergency with my kids, I'm never going to be able to leave. And I don't like that. So I actually, at the moment, I had said to myself, hey, I bought that property in Miami Beach. It finally came back around. The market came back around in Miami Beach because it really crashed down there. The property went down to a third of the price that I bought it for. Then it came back. I rented it to somebody in our class too. I rented it to him for a while, and he I generated good income from them. Finally, I realized, hey, the market's coming back. Let me get into real estate in the investment side. So I wasn't going to think where I turned out today is totally different than what I had in mind about real estate.
That's interesting. Yeah, tell us.
So I went into it from an investment perspective, right? Like my mom, being a real estate attorney, I always learned the back end of real estate, right? The deeds, the evictions, all that stuff, the property management side. They had a very good portfolio of rental properties. I learned that. So when I got into the business of real estate, I decided that that's what I wanted to do, is pursue, as we were talking before the call, is literally just rental properties. And it didn't turn out to be that way. Then I hired a coach. I paid him a lot of money in real estate. And he
like a real estate coach?
A real estate coach. There's a bunch of them out there. I hired the best of the best. I hired the godfather of them all.
So if somebody wants to know who that is, they just reach out to you, right?
They just reach out to me, and I tell them, Matt Daddy. And he was the godfather of it. And he said to me, look, here's the thing. If you decide to do that in the future, that's fine if you want to get into real estate investments. But at first, I think it's better if you learn the actual business of hunting for business, closing a sale, going through the inventory with other people's inventory as opposed to your own inventory, right? Makes sense. As opposed to me going out there getting my head handed to me. Let's go out there to the public. Let's go to the masses and let's list, let's start with 10 deals a year. And the first year I completely failed in real estate. I completely failed because I was, number one, I was a little bit disappointed that I couldn't do just bank-owned properties, which were handed to me. Hey, just go sell that property. And the bank-owned properties just dried up. So then at that point, I ended up hiring the coach, and I made $30,000 my first year as a real estate agent. Literally $30,000, and I went from being a pharmacist, and I actually took a leave of absence from pharmacy to go into real estate, and then I never went back. It was weird. I thought I would come back, but then that whole period, it was everything happened very fast. I decided, okay, let's go ahead and pursue just real estate. Let's do my attorney friends and family bank-owned properties. And then from there, everything dried up fast within 2 months. And then I was left having to learn the business. So you may say, what did you do different? Well, what I had to do is learn how to go find lists of people that had to sell their home and call them on the phone and ask them if we could have a meeting to sell the house. Now, mind you, I had not sold a property before like that. So it was very hard for me to sell myself not having done it before.
Right. So you had to cold call them.
Literally. To this day, I still do. My business has been built to cold calling neighborhoods, area, properties, people that couldn't sell their home, that expire or canceled. And I had to call them individually and say, Heather, your property came off the market. What can I do to help you? And then you would hang up on me, right? So I learned how to follow up. I learned how to deliver the value that I was supposed to. And then over the course of time, 2013 is when I really, 14 is when I really finally hit the ground running. And then the last 5 years, we went from selling $30,000. Now we're on track to sell $20 million worth of real estate, which is super exciting because now my wife is in the business with me.
Yeah.
We're working together. She started doing the real estate back when she was 22, but she failed at it like a lot of people do. But I'm not smarter than most. I just hired somebody that taught me how to do it.
No, that's good advice. Because I think there are people, we all think we can go out there and do it. So, and I've heard that from multiple people about, even on the health and wellness side, if you want a health and wellness business. There's health and wellness coaches that help you
Absolutely.
build a business. So, and they'll tell you, a lot of people who do any kind of business growth, like you'll hear it all the time. The best thing I ever did was get a coach.
Absolutely.
Because then you don't waste a lot of time falling on your face, and instead of falling on your face and figuring it out, you have somebody kind of guiding you, it seems like.
Yeah. And you know what, Heather, I got to say this. It's easier for a pharmacist to do that, to be honest with you, because we went to pharmacy school and we paid University of Florida a lot of money to teach us how to do pharmacy. So for me to go and hire a coach and pay $12,000 literally for 1 year, you would think that's a lot of money, but we went to pharmacy school. We spent all that money already.
Yes.
So this was really a small amount of money compared to the commissions that I was going to be able to collect if I learned the systems and the processes. So I just want to point that out for your audience to understand that it's a very small amount of investment for the right mentor, the right coach. When you look at the big picture, by the way, pharmacy school is a lot more expensive today than it was when we went to school.
Almost twice.
Our first year in pharmacy school, I mean, it was like $2,500 per semester. I think it was like $2,400 per the semester. So for us as a pharmacist, from trained professionals, to go in whatever field you want to get into, to hire somebody that's trustworthy, that knows what they're doing, is a critical part of that next step.
Is there something that drove you to pick real estate? Was it your exposure, like with your own family, or is it? I know down south has so much turnover with homes and growth, and
yeah. So it was either law school or real estate. It was one of the two. And law school, I looked into. I signed up to take the LSAT, and I realized how expensive law school was. And it turned out, in retrospect, it was actually the same amount of training I was going to do in law, and it was in real estate. It was the same amount. In other words, I was going to spend the same amount of 4 years, but instead of paying money into the business, I just had to spend, let's say, $12 grand a year on a coach or a mentor, as opposed to $70 grand a year going down to whatever law school there is. And that's how I ended up in this. It was the least expensive, and by then I already had a daughter, and like I just couldn't go back to school full-time 3 years. A lot of people hide out in school too. A lot of people say, hey, let me just go get another degree. Let me go do that. And I just didn't want to be that person. I wanted to just go head on and just start pursuing the business side that I was looking to go into.
So if there's a pharmacist out there that maybe had that little nudge or inkling about going into real estate, but yet all they know is pharmacy, and you mentioned you would probably do it a little different, like halfway in and out. So I guess if you had a pharmacist who came to you and said, I don't know anything about pharmacy, but I really think I'd love this. No. Yeah. All I know is pharmacy, but I want to go into real estate. Thank you. But how would I even start? Like, what would you suggest for a pharmacist having a job right now? Well, how to transition?
There's a lot of benefits of being a pharmacist with a full-time job, right? Because you have an income, W-2 income that you can prove to a bank, and you can get loans and get investment properties. So that's one angle of real estate that people can go into. The angle I took was the actual sales agent, broker side of real estate. So the first question would be which angle they want to take. If I want to keep my job. I'm not as happy as a pharmacist, but I just want to pursue passive income. I want to increase my residual income. That's what I want to do. Then that would be a different model than what I do here. But regardless, they're going to need somebody to teach them how to do it, right? If somebody says no, like me, I was completely fed up. I didn't want to be in the pharmacy anymore. I didn't want to be dispensing, counting in fives. The whole thing got to me. Ringing people up for toilet paper and ketchup in the pharmacy after spending all that money in school and training. I didn't want to be there anymore. So if somebody wants to change career, the question is, can they do it like I would do, as half and half at the beginning? I would probably do 6 months part-time pharmacy, and then 6 months investing in a coach or mentor, somebody for 6 months at least. Okay. And then working both and not drink, not go out, not travel anywhere. Just do those two things. Not buy a new car. Definitely not buy liability. Not buy a new boat. All that stuff will come in the end. But for sure, 6 months, a 6 month window, and then working part-time in one, and then working, because it's not for everyone, right? So at least they'll get to find out that it's not for them within 6 months, because they'll realize that this is a lot more work, but it's a lot more work, but it's also better, I think, because you're out there. If I had to go see my kids, we have such a busy schedule now. We're able to fit things in there and go see a client in West Palm Beach or go down to Miami. And then somewhere in that 8-hour window, I could really see my family, have dinner with my kids, you know, sell a house, list a new house, you know, and go visit a new construction. So definitely, I think it's important to give it a 6-month part-time little window.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And do you mostly do residential or do you do commercial properties as well?
So I personally do residential. Our team now is doing commercial, and we're doing commercial leases. And in the area, we're starting with some commercial leases, so 5-10-year leases, but mostly residential. So if you Google out Torre, the Torre group, you see we sell up to like 85 homes this year. So we stay pretty busy. Our focus now this year is to add another agent. Part of my struggle now is getting my agents to be as hungry as I was when I started. But I had a new family and I was making good money as a pharmacist. So I was trying to quickly replace that salary. So I was pretty driven and hungry to make it work. But some people come into the business wanting to make $65,000 a year, and I expect them to be more hungry, but I teach them the ropes. I teach them how to do it. And then they get out there and they seem happy.
So how many agents do you have, or how many people do you have working with you?
2 other agents, and I just hired somebody in the Philippines. To be honest, I just did this. First time I tried this out. So they do phone calls for us in communities that I no longer have time to call.
Right.
So when I first started, I didn't have a lot of deals going on, so I could call any community. But now I've got somebody in the Philippines calling every morning, and I'm calling specific leads and people that really need my attention. Somebody that really says, hey, Al, I saw you. Can you please come over? You sold my neighbor's house. Can you come and help me? So now I handle those. And then my other 2 agents and the one in the Philippines call people that are more, let's say, cold leads.
Okay.
So I have a little bit more time, which now gives me more time to go work out more, eat healthier, have a healthier lifestyle, because when you're first building a business, as you know, the first 2 years, it's nonstop. It's 24 hours a day, you know, and then after that it goes to 22 hours a day, right?
So you talked about that. So it gets very stressful. And I imagine even now that things are nicer, I mean, you still have more responsibility. Now you've got employees, you know, there's all kinds of stresses. There's always stresses. So what do you do to fill your cup or to de-stress?
To de-stress. So I'm going to start getting to yoga. I know you post a lot about that.
Yeah,
but I know. So I haven't done that just yet. I've been doing a lot of, I used to run a lot more. So I run the half a marathon in Miami, and I would do a lot of running. Then one day I decided I want to be more fit, and running wasn't going to do it. So I hired a trainer earlier this year. It's been about 7-8 months, and he created a meal plan for me, and the whole intermittent fasting now, which was never popular. Now everybody's doing it. He created the whole fasting for me, and we did a blood test, and my blood test was perfect, but I still was I wanted to look better. So what I do is I go to the gym 7 days a week. I work out at least 1 hour. I run 15 minutes, and I do 45 minutes of strength training. And I am not into CrossFit. I'm not into anything like that. I just do pretty much just training and cardio.
That's awesome.
And now I'm going to get into yoga, which I'm excited.
Well, Dan does it 3 times a week. He's in there. And if he can do it, I'm telling you, anybody can do it. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking like 1 day a week. I'm going to start with 1 day a week.
Yeah. Yes. See how that goes. And you said nutrition was a big piece. Do you meal prep, or your wife or your family, or?
No, we don't meal prep. I'll be honest with you. But I have a list of 3 restaurants in the area, like let's just say fast food, or 3 restaurants here that I go to regularly. And I don't have to be guessing where I'm going to go.
Oh, nice.
They're here. So I've picked 3, and I've had them for about a year now. And that's where I go, and that's it. So I think that's a good option for people that are busy.
Yeah, I like that.
3 good alternatives in the area that they could just know that restaurant has that I like, that one. So yeah.
Awesome.
Most importantly is making sure that I get the workout in every day.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, do
you typically do it in the morning or at night, or how does
that's a good question. I just switched that up. I now do it during lunchtime. I do it during like 11:30, or when the kids go to bed around 8:15, 8:30. So I try to do it during lunchtime is my favorite. 11:30 in the morning, I start my day. I get on the phones at 7:30 in the morning. Start calling at 7:30. Then I take a break around 11 in the morning, and I head to the gym around 11:30 in the morning. And I'm there till about 12:45.
And so you were saying that you kind of never went back to pharmacy. Do you picture yourself staying with real estate?
As the team grows and more people are doing more of the mundane tasks that I was doing 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I could see myself doing pharmacy, but in a different light, kind of like just, yeah, I don't know which light, but I have to figure that out. But I do miss pharmacy. My degree's still up there. I renew my license every 2 years.
Take all your CEs.
I take my CEs. Now we're doing there's 2 new CEs that I didn't have to do before. There's all this stuff, but I just took the vaccine thing off my license. So
I did that too this year.
Yeah, I did it for the first time this year. But, I'd like to, Heather, we talked about a year ago. I'm so proud of you because a year ago you were just going on this journey and here you are.
I'm still on this journey.
We're all on the journey.
I feel like I'm still starting this journey.
Yeah. So we're pretty much, at some point it'd be great to go back into some sort of pharmacy. Maybe investment, some sort of pharmacy investment. There's just
you could own your own pharmacies.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Yeah, that would be, the margins are very thin. I looked into that already and I just, there's still so much. We'll see where this goes. But the business side of real estate is business no matter what,
Mm-hmm.
So it could be used in any, I learned the hard way. I hired people that taught me a lot of things. I still have a coach to this day, by the way. It's not like I don't have them. I still do. I had my coaching call this morning at 9:35 on Tuesday. So I still do. And he said to me, hey, make sure that you come out to the elite retreat in January because I want people that are doing even way better than you to be around you so that you can start thinking about the next level for you and your team.
And I think that is the pharmacy thing again. Like we're always growing. I mean, even as a pharmacist, you always have to keep growing. So that's the way it sounds like you're still in that world as well.
Yeah. But I've been out of pharmacy for so long. I don't even know what's happening there anymore. I just,
you could get back in if you wanted to. It sounds like you're doing really great though. So,
there's more options in real estate than there are in pharmacy. That was also part of my problem with pharmacy. Pharmacy, we're like in a bubble in pharmacy, especially when we went to school because times were great and, there was no job shortages. So we were like in a bubble of like any recession.
Right.
It was really strange times. We were very blessed. And I'm telling you, it was amazing that we didn't see job losses till like 2012, I want to say 11, 12.
Yeah.
Around that time. So, but it's very limiting sometimes, I think, pharmacy. I don't know where things are going. Hopefully they'll change now.
Well, I think there's a lot of people thinking, I've had people call me, Al, just so you know, like you talked about your pay cut and, we need to wrap up, I know, but a lot of pharmacists are questioning, these kids are coming out of school now and so many of them have residencies because they still think they need the next thing to get them that job. Yeah, because you have to stand apart. And I have pharmacists calling saying, gosh, do I go back? Do I take a pay cut, to half my salary and do a residency, and they've been a pharmacist for 15 years. So I think there are people out there that are ready to take that work-life balance and make the life more important and to kind of take those balances out of their life that are keeping them in pharmacy. They're willing to sacrifice and do
cut back a little bit on the new car, maybe not so new.
Yeah.
And I was curious after, the gym, how much longer are you in the office or with your team or putting in hours after that?
After that, I mean, look, right now it's 2:30. I'll tell you the rest of the day for me, right before our call at 1:55, a client in West Palm Beach had called me. I called him this morning at 7:45 and he called me back and he says, hey, Al, it's William calling you back. I'm wondering if you could see me today, this afternoon around 4 o'clock. So I'm going to go up to West Palm Beach to see him to put his property on the market. He had a bad experience with the last realtor. So he said, before I pick up my lockbox and my key, can you come and meet with me? So I'll be working till around 5. And then what I'll do is I'll go to, today's Tuesday, we have our daughter in Kumon, two of our kids in Kumon. And we're going to take her there about 6:30. And then I'll hop back on the phones around 7:30 for one more hour from 7:30 to 8:30. I'll get back on the phones to those people that I couldn't get to during the day. So I stay working a little longer. I would say Lewis and my team will probably stop calling around 5. We have buyers that we work with, but we don't work past 7 o'clock, usually showing properties. So I work about a 9 to 10 hour day, usually.
And are you doing that 5 days a week, 6 days a week?
5 days a week. Saturdays, I used to do the open houses. Now I don't do the open houses. My team does the open houses on Saturdays from 12 to 2:30. I usually show up, for about 20 minutes to the open houses, but typically I'm more out there literally generating new in business for our team more than being hands-on doing the work, which is more work this way, but it's more time freedom. You got to be very committed time-wise, like your schedule, like my schedule. I got to make sure my schedule is on track. So yeah, so I'll be working till around 5, and then I'll be back on the phone 7:30 tonight for another hour.
So are you just on the selling side, or are you on the
question.
buyer side?
We just ran the numbers this morning with my coach. He was like, so what's going on here? So I'm at 90% on the selling side. So we work 10% buyers, 90% sellers, meaning that we do mostly listings and selling properties and making sure that we are selling great properties that they don't have clouded titles or messed up liens or, yeah. So that's what we do. 90% selling side and then 10% buyer side.
Are there any like governmental or like red tape issues that you find challenging right now in your business, or is it smooth sailing?
So it changes throughout the year. Like if the Fed's announced that the rates are going to go up, then you get the people that we have their property listed. Let's say we have 12 listings right now. They'll call and say, hey, you think we're priced too high? The rates are going up. But if the rates go down like they have the last couple months, people want more money for their property. So they'll call and say, hey, Al, I think we want to go up $10,000 on our property now. You know, so there's always that side of the business that I don't really like, right? Because then there's like, the reality of the market is the market. Then the greed of the psychology.
What you can get. Yeah.
What you can get is totally different. Trust me, I don't want to leave money on the table, but to sit on the property for 5-6 months, it'll cost you more money than it is to price it right. So we're always dealing with the interest rate cuts or increases at all times, like throughout the year. And that's always a conversation we have to have during our listing presentations with our customers, because it could become an issue.
And with your coach, are they mostly focused on the real estate, or are they actually in a different type or category, like a sales or a communication type?
Strictly real estate.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, through the years, like when I first started, I would have a sub coach for certain things that I needed help with. So if I needed help on negotiating a deal, that coach would put me in contact with one of his sub coaches for how to negotiate a deal correctly. So you go through the boot camp for a good 2 years of how to negotiate a deal properly, and then you start having other problems, right? How to deal with, the confrontation of these things, whatever. So the one coach is real estate, and the other coach deals with the other side of the real estate, which is communication, like you said, negotiations, business planning.
That'd be good.
Very important, business planning. Like it's the end of the year, so he's telling me this morning, hey, we have 90 days.
Yep, it's coming.
90 days to get to our goal. So what are we going to do? We're on track, but we got to stay on track. So yeah, so we're basically looking at that at all times. Always checking our numbers. We have a coaching call every week, and I have a meeting with my wife every Sunday where we sit down and we go through all our numbers and all our listings and what we're going to do that week.
And it sounds like you're a big goal setter. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like you have to always have that goal out there.
You have to have the goal out there and accountability, Heather, right?
Yeah.
Somebody says, Heather, you say you were going to be here by here. What's going on?
Right.
Yeah.
And you stay true to yourself. I mean, you could always come up with an excuse, but in the end, everybody knows that that's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, last week my wife had a better week than I had.
Oh,
And
good
then
for
when
her.
the coach is putting me out there, he said, so what did you do over the last 7 days? And I said, well, it doesn't matter. The 7 days before that, I crushed everybody in the team. So he goes, I know it bothers you when I say that, but what's going on this last 7 days? So look, it's a cycle, right? We just have to make sure the goal stays there. And if 2 weeks from now, I'm still doing what I did 7 days ago, then we're having problems, right?
Absolutely. Does your wife do a similar role as you, or the same time commitment?
She's what we call the listing specialist, right? So she takes a listing and she makes sure that the listing, she'll sit down with the seller, put the listing on the market, and make sure that they find the home that they're looking for. We have a buyer's agent who shows houses to buyers, literally drives them or meets them at a house to show a property. And then we have another agent that does both sides, which is seller and buyer side. So my wife has been more of the listing, because the listing side allows her to be a mom too, right? Because then she's able to take, hey, I can't see you at 4, but Al can see you at 5, but she's specifically doing the listings at 3, let's say 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and 6 o'clock in the afternoon. After that, then she has to go and do what she does better than I do.
And there's licenses involved. I'm sure you have to like test.
You have to get a real estate license. You know, there's a 60-hour course. Gosh, I don't know. Go on the website, right? 60-hour course, get your real estate license, and then you get your broker's license. It's another 72 hours, I think. But most importantly is getting your license and getting a coach. If you ever want to get into any field, like if you need a real estate license, get a license and get a coach.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Get a license, get a coach.
Get a license, get a coach, get a job.
What keeps you pursuing this? Because I noticed like on your Facebook and stuff, you had like keep it going, like just this drive. I mean, what keeps you going?
To be honest with you, just like my kids, my family, everybody's excited. So I told my kids, how do you describe me? They say, we describe you as a hard worker. So what am I going to do now? Not be a hard worker? You know, just.
I like that, the 50% humor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 50%. Oh, my gosh, it's right here. So I can work on my humor.
Adorable. Oh, my goodness.
But they see me as such a, so that's what we do, and I'm really blessed, but we also are very committed, my wife and I, to work on our business together.
That's really neat.
Together, and that stuff. And I know Heather and I talked about it about a year ago, how that takes time to build that, right? And that's
not everybody can work with their spouse. I mean,
no, but I realize the people that can, the ones that I model, have great lives.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I mean, it's really inspiring for me. I mean, I see 2 or 3 couples that I look into. I'm like, my gosh, you guys have great kids. They're like 20, 25, 30 years old, and you build a business together. So I'm modeling those guys, and I know that we have to communicate more, look at the numbers more, talk more. But the last 2 years she's been in the business with me has been all good, I should say. Maybe 10% bad. 10% challenging.
That's
right?
That's any business.
Right.
Okay. That's any partnership, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Any partnership.
That's it.
The other question I just thought of was with your kids, like what amount or what age do you think you'll start exposing them to what you're doing, if that's even a goal or thought process for y'all?
Like now, I literally get them, showing them on the phones, like, hey guys, if you want to do any business, we'll walk around a little boardwalk or something. I say, what does every business need? Let's say that art store right there. What do they need? They say clients, right? So they're already kind of in the mindset of clients. It doesn't even matter what art they have. They have to have clients. So I'm exposing them early on, because I think it's critical for them to start seeing that side of business, not just the job part of the business, because then it becomes a job, you know?
Oh, yeah.
You know,
And how old are they?
7. So we have a 7-year-old and a 4.5-year-old.
Okay.
And I'm excited to say that the big sister, she's 12. She's an amazing kid, and she does a great job at keeping everybody in line. And for the first time this summer, she was making calls to our community, our past clients.
Wow.
And
That's
so cool.
Yeah. So it's just getting them in there doing it. And then they're in pre-med program, and they're excited about it too. But whatever decision they choose to go in life, just realize business is business, you know,
and being a professional. I mean, they're going to have to be a professional no matter where, what job they do, learning
doesn't matter.
Professional, how to treat people, what you say,
how to provide service, how to provide value. So
how to provide value, how to get better at providing value, how to track what you do, how to get better at what you do, how to be honest with yourself and know that that's not something you do great, but how to get somebody to help you. So all that stuff is just part of life.
It's life lessons for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So these are all good questions. You didn't give me the questions before the interview.
It's gonna come.
So hopefully we brought a lot of value to the audience that you guys have. It's been
Absolutely. I think they're going to be very interested in this. I think real estate is something some people, I don't know why, some people think, I'll just go do real estate. Like it's so easy.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And within 9 months. Yeah, it's hard.
So I think this is going to be really, really helpful. And certainly with your information, we'll add it, whatever you send me that you want people to reach out to you.
Absolutely.
Websites or whatever. We'll add that into the information on the recording.
Definitely. I would love to see more pharmacists in the sales side of business.
Is there any pharmacy real estate group? I know there's Bigger Pockets and different podcasts that kind of teach you real estate stuff.
There's a bunch out there for how to flip the homes, how to, flipping homes and all that stuff. But pharmacy and real estate together? No, I've never seen one.
Okay.
Yeah, but we have a mastermind group that we do have one, and it's not just pharmacists. It's anybody that's in pharmacy in real estate now that wants to do better. We teach them how to prospect. It's a group. It's our group of people. Like my wife was on the phone this morning with one of our mastermind partners, whose wife is very concerned because her husband is not producing any money in real estate. So my wife was giving her a little bit of, he's not doing what he's supposed to do. So I always give a little bit of wisdom. And so we're always supporting each other. And it's a nice ecosystem. It's 20 people in the group now. And, but these are people that are committed. If they're not committed, eventually they just, like everything else, fall off. Yeah. Like Heather, how many people were in your chemistry class?
Yeah, hundreds.
Right? 100. Compared to how many actually graduated pharmacy school? Compared to 125 or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing in this business. So yeah, we do have that mastermind group, and I can share that with you in the text, and you can put that in there somewhere. Sure. And they can reach out to me. I think it's very helpful, that actually.
Any other resources like podcasts or books that you've loved to learn along the way for real estate?
So we've got so many books. I mean, this is one of my favorite books in real estate. There's one here, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. It's a great book by Gary Keller. They can definitely follow me at Torre, my Instagram at Torre, ALTRORREE, whatever that is. And definitely check out our mastermind on our Facebook group as well, the WGR Mastermind. It's a great mastermind, the WGR, World's Greatest Realtor Mastermind. And pretty much that's it. I would say whoever's interested in getting into sales, even if they don't decide to stay in real estate, sales has to be learned.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing MTMs, you better learn how to do sales. If you're doing,
right.
If you're doing, and sales means providing value, like you were saying. You got to provide value for people. So yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're running a cleaners or
you need clients. So how do you get clients?
Well, thank you so much. It's been so awesome talking to you. And like I said, I think it's going to be very interesting. Our audience is really going to like it. And you're such a powerhouse. You're just like this powerhouse. So thank you for taking
I'm going to share with you the name of this book. Heather, I'll text you where people can reach me. If anybody has any questions, hopefully we'll do another interview. When I get another two more agents in, maybe we'll get a pharmacist in the area that wants to be a realtor. They can call me. I literally will teach them how to do it. They just got to do the work. Don't waste my time. Just like say, hey, Al, how do you do it? Either tell me early on you don't want to do this, or if you really commit to doing it, I'll teach you how to do it.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you. This is so cool. I've learned so much. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please join us next time. If you want to reach out to Al or get more information, we'll put a ton of contact information up for you guys. So tune in next time to Heather
and Bryn,
the Pharmacists Out of the Box.
Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.